Hello everyone, good morning from New York. It's 9 a.m. here. Today is February 4, first Sunday of the month 2024. Okay, I would like to welcome each one of you who are watching right now. May I ask you to please share our show today with your friends. This is very informative. A lot of people are sending emails and ask for this topic. So please tag your friends, share the show. Let me fix my headset. It's falling. While I'm waiting for my friends, we came from a different states. We have different time frames. I'm waiting for Sir Paul and Kay. Today, we're going to discuss about workplace violence, right? A very interesting topic that immigrant nurses should learn about. And we are welcoming our dear Dr. Nurse Paul. And okay, they're gonna come in a few minutes. Okay. We're gonna be in episode 18, workplace violence. It's part of American dream that you must know. And as we always say, knowledge is power. Learning all of these things before you come in the US and be aware of this will help you a lot in order for you to have a successful nursing career. And one way of learning in advance is where I came from the Philippines. We don't really have this kind of information. So, workplace violence, episode 18, February 4, Sunday. Welcome and sharing us to your friends, tag your friends, share the knowledge. While I'm talking to you guys, I'm sharing my my screen, my lobby show. Meanwhile, can you tell us where you're from? Oh, hello to my dear husband, always watching and supporting me. Keep sharing us on your personal Facebook or all the uh Facebook for nurses. Okay, so everyone will be aware what we're having today. We're gonna share the knowledge. Sharing is caring. So, what do you come in your mind when you hear workplace violence? Is it really possible to have a violence in a hospital or in a healthcare? And Miss Kay is here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello. I'm still in my car. I just, I did my mommy errands, but I will be able to share you guys my experience. Going to be pulling over in a shortly here. So, good morning, Anna. What are we talking about? Is this my
Oh my
special
god.
bullying?
One of the hottest topic ever, violence.
Workplace violence, hostility, bullying. Um,
Yes.
this is a
Sexual
topic that
harassment.
yeah, not sexual harassment though, but I can tell my expertise in being bullied,
Bullying.
bullying someone, hostility, harassing. It's always the new person who gets this, right? Uh,
Yes.
the new person who gets bullied all the time. And imagine, as a traveling nurse for 16 years, how many times was I the new person, the new kid in the block?
Yes. And
So
not just as a traveler, when they know that you're an immigrant, and when you're an immigrant and you're not aware of this, because 8 years ago when I started working here in a nursing home and during our orientation, Okay, we're gonna talk about bullying. I was like, bullying? You mean nurses bully nurses? I was like,
Yeah,
okay. I don't know if you work in the Philippines, but I worked
I
for
did.
12
I
years.
worked in the Philippines. I got bullied. I was
Right?
then after I was the bully now. No, in a good way, in a more fun way. But I got bullied. I got bullied by colleague. I got bullied
Senior
by
nurses.
by yeah, senior nurses. I got bullied by physicians.
Management. Yes,
Physicians,
and the
yes, so
leadership.
management. Bullying exists everywhere, even in schools right now, even in
Neighborhood.
neighborhoods, sometimes even in your own house, right? So bullying exists everywhere. And this is very important that a lot of Filipino nurses or immigrant nurses have to know that it is not only just at home, but it exists here, especially where there is cultural differences,
Yeah,
diversity. Sometimes bullying happen not because they intentionally did it, but maybe because some people are culturally insensitive. So that's
exactly.
also one thing. Yeah, but nice to see you, Anna. I love your new headphones.
Oh, thank you.
I mean headset. Sorry, not headphones, headset. Yeah.
And like what I was saying when I was starting my orientation, they also taught us about bomb threats, active shooter. I was surprised. Uh, gun violence happened in the healthcare work in the U.S. Okay, and for
Oh,
calling me.
yay! There you go. Yes, it
Good
is. There you go,
morning.
Mr. Texas. Gun
Good morning.
violence.
I had to get my coffee. Sorry. Can't
License
start
to
without coffee.
license to carry, Texas, right?
Yeah, it's open carry state, so you can carry guns anywhere except hospitals, I think, and federal buildings.
Mhm.
There you go. Welcome, Paul. Good morning. You were exactly perfect timing when we talk about.
Gun violence.
I waited for that. That was my cue.
I was on the bullying only until Paul said, "Okay, this is real deal, Texas."
Right, right, right.
So
Good
as I
morning,
was saying,
everyone.
the corner all in play, I was welcoming everyone and encouraging everyone to please share our today's DNP Unlocked. Very
Right,
hot
right,
topic. A lot of people are asking about this, how you handle bullying, how do you handle workplace violence. There are different kinds of workplace violence. It's not only violent reaction that's happening, right?
right, right.
It's not
Eh,
only violent reaction in social media, but it's real and it's happening, and you have to know and learn how to handle it, how to take care of yourself and protect yourself. But our nurse Paul is here to share his insight, and traveling nurse Kay, her favorite topic, bullying Paul. She was bragging about it earlier.
of
Bully,
course.
bullying, and I gotta have to, I like my coffee cup today. This is my
Right.
feeling of coffee cup on the topic of bullying.
And welcome to
Wanna-
everyone. And this is our episode 18, Workplace Violence. Wow, we've already had 18 episodes. I was reviewing all our episodes last night because I was actually planning to publish it in podcasts in Apple and Spotify. So working on that. But we've gone a long way, guys. And now we're gonna talk about workplace violence. Very important. Um, especially nowadays, I was invited in a talk last year, guys, and I talked about workplace violence for nurses, directed toward nurses particularly, because we're nurses. And this happens not only in the US, it's actually all over the world, which is kind of sad because healthcare workers are not only coming to work to work, they're also offering themselves, presenting themselves to patients to make sure that we can help them heal. And then you get the other end of the stick, which is to get hit or shouted on or bullied. But then again, workplace violence can come in many forms. We're going to talk about it later. So guys, thank you for joining us. Use the comment section to interact with us today. And you can also tell us where you're coming from so we can tell you guys, or we can mention that online today. We have a lot of viewers today.
Yes, and everyone's asking about when are you going to talk about workplace violence? And I was like, well, stay
you know,
tuned. First
yeah.
Sunday of February, first Sunday of the month, and we are discussing this. Okay, welcome Miss Yamne from Philippines. And we have someone from Sugio. Is that Cagayan de Oro, right? I haven't been to that place.
Yay! This is very fun topic, and it's very relatable to a lot of new immigrants, new grads,
Mm-hmm.
new workplace, new employee, new boss, and it's not only that. Like Paul said, it happens also as a your- within your patients. I
Mm-hmm.
got I got harassed and bullied by one patient. This is a very funny story, but I just want to insert here where while everybody's putting in where they are from. There is one time I'm from the operating room. I don't go out of the operating room unless I have to. But I was told to get one patient because the patient wouldn't come to together with a transporter. I went there to the med surge floor, and even before I see that door of that patient, I see things flying out of that room, and I said,
Right.
"Am I?
That
Is that
door
my
there.
patient? Is that my patient?" And they said, "Yeah, that's your patient." I have to dock before I get into that room, and I'm like, "Okay, let me talk to the patient." And the patient was very verbally abusive. I'm not gonna filter this. He said, "Get the f out of my face right now," and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
"Uh, good morning, sir. My name is. I'm here to take you to the operating room." And he said, "One more thing, and I'm gonna smash your face." And I left the room. And I told the med surg nurse, "I've been only here for 3 minutes. I don't know how you guys survive this for hours, for years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
from the OR. I'm not gonna tolerate this, and I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna quit my job right now."
Right.
So
Right.
Well, my husband, he works in med surg, right? So whenever he comes home, I try not to bring up workplace violence or home violence.
I said, kudos to all med surg
Yeah.
nurses, our nurses. I it's just too much to handle that time for me, and I don't know how you guys do it, but I'd like to,
I don't know how Paul do it to in the ER.
Oh,
I
I'm gonna
Oh,
tell
look
you
for
lots of stories
Marvin.
later.
Hi for
I have my
Marvin.
whole slide for
Hi,
that.
Marvin.
great tons of talents there in med-surg and ER to for them to endure this. And it takes not only the skills but intellectual, mental, physical strength that you have to have there.
Yeah.
And I said these are great amount of great strength of people in there that we need to protect and help.
I can
Right.
say, because we both work in the OR, we have our own different types of bullying, not from the patient, because they are
Yeah.
all asleep.
Yeah. There are four types of workplace violence and bullying. So this guy's out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not only coming from patients.
Yes,
It
Yes,
and
can also come from co-workers.
or kababayan too. I think that's the worst one when
colleagues.
you are
Yes.
Right,
bullied by your
right,
kababayan, your own
right.
kind.
Yeah, kababayan is a Filipino word for the how do you say that? We call that um how do you say that?
My own
We
kind.
call our own kind, own Filipino. Like for Filipinos, we call them kababayan. But anyway, guys, we have reached 100 viewers today. Thank you to 100
Yay!
viewers. We have viewers: Aries from Iloilo, Margie from Iligan, Philippines, Kirby from Camarines Sur, Marvin. Hello, Marvin. We'd like to invite you again. He's watching from his other job in California, earning that 100 plus an hour, highest paid nurse
Yeah.
I've known. And Yamne said med surg and ER nurses with that bicep emoticon watching from Cebu May. And also, I would like to thank my 70,000 followers in Facebook. I could not believe
Yay!
it. I just
Oh,
opened the
yay!
Facebook page to share contents for NCLEX and shows like this. But thank you. We'll keep producing more shows for you guys. If you guys have any idea of what we want to talk about, what you want us to talk about, share it to us, and we're gonna get to our calendar and make sure that we get to it. Okay?
What calendar? Our last minute calendar.
Yeah, they don't understand the struggles to produce this show because all of us, of course, have our own personal lives. So I actually have a class after this, but we want to put out a show for our followers, especially workplace violence. I feel like a lot of people can relate. So guys, share your story about workplace violence. You don't have to share
Mention.
patient identity or even
Mm-hmm.
workplace. It can be vague. Just give us a gist and we'll share it online. We'll read it virtually, but tell us your version of workplace violence.
I love to hear those workplace violence from Paul.
I can go on the whole day. I need more coffee for this. I told Anna, can I go ahead and do my slide first? Because I have so much to share. But I'm going to share contents from American Nurses Association and Press Ganey based on studies and research and the types of workplace violence. How do we define workplace violence? That's what I'm going to talk about today. And then Anna, of course, and Kay will share about bullying and sexual harassments and violence such as bomb threats and active shooting because these are like really
Yeah.
common here in the US. Like we've heard stories where in New York, right? Somebody came into the hospital, started shooting their doctors and nurses, which is unfortunate because I mean, what other industry do you hear that people retaliate because they didn't get their opioids or they didn't get what they wanted or they blame the healthcare workers to where they come back and shoot, like I haven't heard that in many industries. I haven't heard that in the accounting industry, in the finance industry. But sure enough, in healthcare workers, it's becoming so common that we feel like it's the norm. Is it norm to really be okay for nurses and doctors and healthcare workers to be hurt? Because I think there should be a more forceful law um, preventing that and making that a federal offense. Because otherwise, we're just going to lose a lot of healthcare workers leaving the bedside because not only of burnt out from the job itself, not only of the pay inequity, but also with workplace violence.
Absolutely agree on that. Laws needs to be implemented as fast as they can. I think
Mhm.
Texas is doing a good job in implementing those laws as well. Kudos to whoever is pushing that. You know who you are. I want to say thank you for all you do. The labor unions who are pushing also for this,
Yes.
our nursing organizations who are pushing to protect workplace violence. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for hearing us in the front line.
Right. I think next time let's invite like organizations and unions, talk about
Yeah.
these things. So nurses are aware that there are these organizations that are fighting for us. Maybe we haven't heard of them, or maybe we've heard of them in passing, but we don't know what they're doing. Maybe I don't know what they're doing as well. Maybe it's time to bring them to the front and talk to our immigrant nurse community to say, hey, we have an organization fighting for nurse patient ratio. How can we help this organization? Maybe if I just pick up one overtime in a month and donate that money to them, maybe that can get them mobilized, But I think we should start inviting these organizations to talk about our advocacies here. To say that it's not only Kay, Anna, and Paul that are actually advocating. There are many people in organizations out there, organizations that have the best interest of nurses. And for example, today, workplace violence, this is a big talk in the US. So many nurses associations in different states and even the ANA and so many other entities like United Nations, World Health Organization. They talk about this all the time, but I guess we want to keep talking about it so
Yeah,
we can bring it to the table of the people who are making policies and these are our legislators to finally say, hey, you know what? I think let's put everything aside for now. Let's do something about our healthcare workers.
protection of the most ethical
Yep.
professionals in the world.
Exactly. For years we've been the most ethical professionals, but I mean, we're gonna see data later of how much workplace violence we're actually encountering, and that's only the reported violence. I'm gonna
Yeah,
show
we're gonna
numbers.
need the whole year for that.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
thank you for our viewers. We have Frosken here. Frosken is one of my instructors in Aspire RN, but he's also moving to the US very, very
Yay, the
soon.
queen, what queen?
And
You
James
wanna
is
get
watching.
ahead of it.
Right. James is watching from Baylor, Temple, Texas. Is one of my students before. He's now here in the US for more than a year. Very successful. Thank you, James. I would like to get in touch with you. Denise said she was my student years ago in Davao. And Nay as well. Wow. I've been a teacher for a bit, so I feel old now. But
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you guys.
I was gonna say that way back.
Oh,
Oh
oh
my
my
God,
god.
they're discussing your age now. Way back, Paul. Way back.
I know, Hayana. Hayana, I haven't talked to you for 10 years. Message me in Facebook. I'll talk to you, Hayana. Hayana, I used to work with her. She was also my student back in 2013. And she became
Wow.
my staff in one of the review centers I worked at as a director. Wow, so much history here. Thank you for
We
following
wanna
me,
hear your
guys.
workplace violence.
Yeah, yeah. Please,
Please,
Hayana, please say. Feel free to say what did your boss did to you? Harassment or discrimination?
Yes,
You know, as a boss, is was there bullying that happened when Paul was the boss?
lateral violence.
You are free
but
to share.
no.
He doesn't know where you are, right? So that's totally.
Hayana, I'd like to reach out to you. Let's communicate again and what you call that? Connect. All right. I like connecting with my students and staff that worked with me before. All right. I treat all of them as my family. Glenn is
Yeah, and like
watching from
family likes
Florida.
and family likes bullying each other anyway, right?
Yes,
Right.
there's
Hold on, hold
violence.
on. Hi, Glenn. Glenn, I talked to Glenn personally. You know, my Facebook page has so many messages. I honestly, I'm pretty terrible with responding to messages. I'm still responding to messages from July 2023. Okay. Anyway, Glenn, I saw its message yesterday while responding to one of them. You know how it always goes to the top when somebody messaged you, right? So I opened it and it was a recent message and he said someone's scamming you using your photo in this Facebook group, something like that, to advertise their services for nursing care or something. But I couldn't enter the group because obviously it's a locked group. He sent me screenshots of scammers, but Glenn was not the only one. Thank you, Glenn. There is another friend that messaged me in Instagram. There's one or two accounts that's using my thing. But guys, again, my only handle in social media is DrNursePaul. There's no dash, there's no underscore, and the spelling for my name is correct. It's Paul, it's not Pual, or the nurse is not misspelled. I'm very particular with spelling. I'm a spelling quiz bee champion when I was in grade six. So if it's misspelled, it ain't me. Trust me.
Sir
That's
Paul
it.
did not take his NIL 5 times. Okay, so he's not like me, guys. So
I reviewed with Irvin, but I only attended 5 times because I just need the like. What tips can you tell me if I'm taking my IELTS next week? Something like that.
be careful with the spelling. If you're gonna scam him, if you're gonna use him.
Please at least use the spelling. It really gets me. My OCD flares up. I'm like, oh my god, they're scamming me, but they use the wrong spelling. Like at least use the correct spelling, right? I mean, anyway, thank you for guys. If you see my face out there, please verify that it's actually me you're talking about. And trust me, I'm not asking for money or Bitcoin or nothing like that. If I am fundraising for a charity event, I'll put it out in my Facebook or social media with legal ways to put money in, but I will never PM you to ask for money or sell you services. The only service that I sell is NCLEX, nothing more than that. So please report it to me so we can report it to Facebook.
That's for violence,
That is bullying.
cyberbullying. Okay, Sir Paul, do you have enough coffee to discuss your first
Yes, of
topic?
course. The first topic for today, Anna, that was a whole welcome remarks, 20 minutes. But I'm
Half an
enjoying it. We
hour.
have we have 100 plus viewers today, and they're giving me a laugh sign while I was talking about the scamming and the spelling. It really gets me,
Yeah,
guys. I'm a little OCD with that.
yeah. Just I want to add here, me,
Yes.
Anna, and Paul, we can be bullied too. And if you guys are we bully, but the only people
We
we
One
bully,
another, right?
scammers. For one, we're gonna bully scammers. Number two, we're gonna bully predatory practices.
And
I don't
PN is
think
the
AUL.
you
key.
call me bully, but those are the
Yeah,
two things that I will do bully. And I will
yeah,
tell you, if they're good in scamming you, I can be the best bully in the
yeah.
whole world.
And the
And
biggest things, if you guys see Lefora, we are three of the many admins, but we are the most vocal in terms of advocating for nurses. And they say we're negative, or not the admins. Our admins are very friendly. They love us. We all have different personalities. It's like putting a plate on a table. It's good when we're all together. But there are members that don't agree with us. But we will keep on protecting immigrant nurses, particularly the new ones, because they're still getting accustomed and acclimated here in the US. We're going to talk about scamming, whether it's financial services, recruitment process, whatever organization they're
Health
asking you to pay,
insurance.
something like that.
Insurance.
Health insurance, yes. So yeah, we're gonna keep talking about that. We're gonna say we think it's not advisable for new immigrant nurses. Probably those niche products are advisable for someone else, but I don't think for new immigrant nurses who are striving hard to get accustomed and to get integrated with the US healthcare. You have so much debt to pay, you have kids that need to go to school, you have to pay apartment, you don't have savings, and yet these people prey on vulnerable immigrant nurses. So guys, will watch out. We're gonna keep talking about that.
yes, and we
That's
don't bully just because of one point. We bully because these people were repetitive, right?
right,
So
right. And
you have to know how
pattern,
to get
scanning
back. Yes.
patterns.
So
Yes.
yes, scamming patterns. Yes, we do that, but not one time. But yeah, so that's
Eh,
why we're here to tell you how to be feeling like a victim of bullying because we were part of it. But we also
yeah.
understand
They,
who are
they, they
these
said
people.
we're yeah, they said we're the bullies, but when we expose stuff, and trust me, we may have formed opinions, but we also base it on facts. I'm huge with evidence-based medicine. I always say, where's the evidence? Let's show numbers. If it's a financial service, let's show your benefits. If you're a recruitment agency and you're actually recruiting, let's talk to your hospitals. Can we call them from here in the US if we can advocate for nurses and say, is your hospital legit? Can I call the HR today and verify that you're working with them? Something like that. We only base it on facts because at the end of the day, we're nurses. We also base everything on facts. But they get very angry when we expose these things. So we ended up getting bullied. And some people may not agree with our ways, but like we said in DNP Unlocked, disruptive nurse perspectives, if nobody wants to talk about it, then who would? This is why we're here. We're going to talk about the most uncomfortable things.
All right, Paul. Yes. So let's start with the first
Yeah. So let's
workplace.
talk about workplace violence in general, and let's focus on my end. I'll focus mainly on physical violence first. Anna and Kay will talk about many things. So let's show the slide. I have a slide that I prepared to our moderator. He's about to show it. Give us 1 minute. Here you go. According to Press Ganey, in an article in 2022, I have to open my phone so I can read it as well. Did you know that back in their study in 2021, this is 2 years ago, Anna, 3 years ago, right? In my doctorate school, this is not going to make it in my paper anymore because it's a little too old. It has to be recent. But this is the most recent data that I've found. 2 nurses per hour are assaulted in the acute care setting. We call acute care setting when we're working in the hospitals, right? That's 50. Let's put it in numbers so we can understand it better. That's like 57 assaults per day, 1,713 assaults per month, and 5,217 assaults per quarter. All right. This is only from the limited data that we know. And let's go to the next slide. Um, this is a data from American Nurses Association, right, in their advocacy center for workplace violence. 1 in 4 nurses are assaulted. All right, only 20 to 60% incidents are reported. All right, about 40 to 80% are not reported, which is sad because if it's not reported, we don't have information about it. It's not also part of the data. So the question is, how much are not reported, right? And these are estimates. You have to remember that. 13% of missed work days in total of the workforce pool are due to workplace violence because somebody got assaulted, somebody does not want to go back to work because they're threatened or they're fear for their safety or they got injured. But let me tell you this, when I further dig into the data, this study was conducted in 2013 and published in 2014, all right? 10 years ago. If I was in doctorate school, my professors would not even allow this in papers because it's an old story. But guess what? That's the most
Yeah.
recent available data in Press Ganey and American Nurses Association. Whenever I see numbers like this, the first thing that I probably it's due to my training in the doctorate school to, in the DNP program, we're taught to critique a paper. We're not just going to accept face value. According to the study, our conclusion is there is a significant difference. But what if they only studied 5 people? Or what if the statistical test was incorrect? That's how the DNP works, right? So I always look at the numbers first. How long ago was this data? All right. And the Press Ganey actually was also a limited study. It's only in a few states, not everywhere. So in short, let me magnify this and exaggerate this a little. These numbers that I'm showing you are already alarming as it is, but these are old data. These are also from very small pool of research. Imagine if we conduct a full national investigation or even do it worldwide, how much more can we see? Did you guys know that according to Press Ganey is our favorite here in the US, particularly in the ER. You literally can get fired if you don't follow the Press Ganey recommendations. It's about survey. In short, this is how they score. You're in the ER. This is very important for us because ER is metric based, right? Are the patients happy? Did the nurse explain their discharge papers? Whatever. So Press Ganey collects this data. According to them, the highest number of assaults occurred in psych units. Hello to my psych nurses. Emergency departments. Hello to my folks in the ER. I know what you're going through. Been there, done that. Pediatric units, pediatric burn, pediatric rehab, pediatric surgery. OB and NICU have the lowest number of assaults reported. I don't think moms that are pregnant can fight back, right? Or the babies. But probably the babies are getting assaulted. So the majority of assailants are patients. The majority of offenders are patients. While patients are the largest source of violence, family members, co-workers, visitors, and intruders also perpetrate violence. And the majority of assailants are males. Psych units and rehab have the largest percentage of assaults resulting in moderate to severe injuries. And I know this because, in the ER, we also have psych patients. And with psych patients, I'm really guarded, okay? They left us already, but I'm really guarded with my psych patients because uh, they can get violent. They can flip very, very quickly. So you guys better be on the lookout. I always tell my preceptees, my new baby ER nurses precepting with me, when you're inside the psych patient's room, never turn your back on them. All right. If you have to walk backwards to the door, you do it. No matter how peaceful they are, especially if they're schizophrenic, which they can flip very, very quickly. Now, I'm not worried about anxiety, right? Or anxious patients or depressed patients. I don't think they have the energy to do that. But psychotic patients, for example, they can flip in an instant and hurt you or stab you or something. So be very careful with that. Let's go to the next slide while Kay and Anna are refreshing in the background. For the next slide, American Nurses Association defined 3 things. Incivility is one or more rude, discourteous, or disrespectful actions that may or may not have a negative intent behind them. It's incivility, all right? It's just saying something rude, all right? So sometimes, or not sometimes, we get this a lot from patients, from family members, from coworkers. We call it snarky remarks, rude comments, conversational English, they say you're smart mouth, right? Something like that. That's incivility. Let's go to the next one. Let's define first what we're talking about. The next one is ANA defines bullying. We keep talking about it as repeated. You have to say this: repeated, unwanted, harmful actions intended to humiliate, offend, and cause distress in recipients. And honestly, guys, it's a part of federal law, part of your compliance during your orientation, onboarding in the hospital. If you are bullied, you can report to compliance, all right, or to ethics committee. And Kay and Anna will talk about that later. And finally, let's define workplace violence according to American Nurses Association. Guys, this is lifted word per word. I didn't have time to edit the slides, but For my scholarly friends, don't persecute me. There should be an open and close what you call this uh what you call this open and close what do you call that statement, kind of, when you copy something. So I copied this word per word. I did not invent this. All right, this is according to American Nurses Association. Workplace violence is any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, threatening, disruptive behavior from patients, family members, external individuals, hospital personnel. It includes physical, which I'm focusing right now, sexual, and psychological assaults. And let's stay in this slide while I'm discussing this. According to NIOSH, all right, National Institute of Safety, something like that, and this is also lifted by ANA in their website. There are four types of workplace violence. The first one is criminal intent. So wants to kill you, wants to hurt you, wants to murder you. The second type is involves a customer, client, or patient. In this type, individual has a relationship with the business. So they could be your patient. That's type 2. Type 3 involves co-workers. So if your coworker is bullying you, threatening harm, and do they do that? Yes. I've had one coworker who threatened me physically. Of course, that got reported to the HR and the nurse got fired because you can't do that. I actually recorded the nurse saying that to me. And I mean, bullying comes in many faces. They could be the most innocent person, and then the next day they're bullying you. So stand up for yourselves. Co-workers, that's type 3. And type 4, violence involves personal relationship. It includes individuals who have interpersonal relationships with intended target, but no relationship to the business. So I don't think that matters to our discussion today. So type 1 is criminal intent. Type 2 is patient to nurse or patient to healthcare worker. And type 3 is co-worker to, worker to worker. All right. So those are the three types of workplace violence as defined by ANA. Let's bring back Anna and Kay to the stage if they're still here. Oops, Kay's camera is turned off. There we go. So that's it. Those are physical aggressions and workplace violence as defined by our nursing organizations, ANA. What do you guys think? Anna,
Thank you
Kay,
very
Kathy?
much for that, Paul. Very insightful, and thanks for sharing all those
Mm-hmm.
press Ganey information. Like everybody said, I was gonna ask you earlier. Said Paul, who's press Ganey? So because a lot of our immigrant nurses don't know these
Yeah.
organizations
Uh-huh.
who
Yeah.
have big impact on the practice and big impact on the procedures that we do in the hospitals or in our
Yeah.
workplace. So these are a lot of surveys or survey organization or research organization that you will hear. So press gainies, one you it's like similar when you hear like consumer based like Nielsen research,
Mm-hmm.
staffing industry research. So a lot of different organizations do research on this and the numbers. So those are very helpful and impactful in how our administrators are creating rules and policies for our workplace.
Right. And Press Ganey is like where we get our data. So they basically send the survey to patients. That's not only for the hospital itself, but for national pool. So they rank hospitals in the ER. I work in the ER. So, ER is it's like the wild, wild west of the hospital. I love it because it keeps me on my toes. But there are sites where, oh my God, why am I in the ER? But it's like a toxic relationship where you don't want to leave, but you want to leave, but you don't want to leave, but you love it, something like that. But we're very metrics based. Every quarter, our directors would post and say, you know what, our nurses' interaction with patients dipped. Nobody's explaining the medication side effect before you discharge, something like that. So Press Ganey is that. They rank hospitals. I work in a hospital that ranked in the upper 10 in the US back then, all right? But we are a freestanding hospital and we only see 10 patients a day. Of course, we're going to get very, very good results because we have all our time for the patient. But
Yes.
Press
So
Ganey is that. It's our data. Like we rank hospitals based on Press Ganey scores.
Anna,
Okay,
I think we should
for
go with
Paul.
the comments and
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, there are comments.
For Paul, I have a question. What is the
Yes.
most violent experience that you have in the ER and how did you handle it?
So I've encountered bullying on my first 2 years here in the US. I mean, we've made amends now. the person was struggling obviously mentally, and he was not fit to work at that time. He it was a full circle. My coworker ended up becoming my patient,
Oh my
and he
okay.
apologized to me when he was my patient. But you know what I told him? I I do not have I do not, you know, even if, how do you say this? Because I said it in, I don't want to divulge information. But the point is, even if there was something, there was a beef, they said in conversational English, right? That will not pass in the IELTS. But there was a beef between us before. When you're my patient, you're my patient. It doesn't matter who you are. My goal is to stabilize you and make sure that there's no emergency. It was an emergency because it was a small bowel obstruction. I was going to go to the ER. But the point is, we made amends, and that for me alone is enough. He said he underestimated my ability because I was this tiny. I would look like 20. I always get mistaken that I'm younger than my nurses. You know, I was, for the most part, in pediatric ER, because I was flipping between pediatric and adult ER. They would always thought I'm a student. And there was even one mom who screamed at me, "I want a nurse who can put in the IV," because four nurses already tried. All right, and I looked the youngest among all of them, but I was like, well, that's why they called me. But if you think I'm not competent enough because of just how you see me, because I'm the smallest and I don't have beard or I don't look old enough to become a nurse, then you can call me whenever you're ready. But there's a reason why I'm the fifth nurse that they called, right? Because that's how you do it. You always, right, call the better one after someone. But anyway, cut it short. This coworker, full circle, made amends. But during that time, it was difficult because um, he became charge nurse, and he was meddling with the way I precept nurses, and he was also calling out the way how I do things. But you know, I always tell my preceptors I'm not bothered with that because I follow the protocols and guidelines. All right, we had a fight about Foley catheterization, but I obviously know that he was doing it unsterile way where he touched the catheter, and that's how he teaches his nursing students. With me, if you want to do that, you do that. If you get malpractice with that and they detect that you're the one who caused the urosepsis, you're on your own, right? But if I teach my preceptors the way that I should teach them so they can be a quality nurse, then I'll teach them that way. Otherwise, you want to teach them, you do it yourself, right? But anyway, so many things going on. But on the patient side, like I told you guys, we have psych patients, all right? I've had I've had patients that we had to call cops because they were beating us or they were trying to beat us. But you know, guys, there is an advantage when you're 5'4" like me, all right, and everybody's like 6 footer,
I was
right?
gonna say that, Paul. I said you
Yeah.
can easily
Yeah,
dock those because
yeah. So,
Yeah.
when
versatile.
they start hitting, what you do is duck and crawl and make sure that you guys like like go outside the room very very quickly. So when everybody's like when all hell is breaking loose, is what I say. I duck and start running because I'm not gonna try to protect myself. Could I? Should I? Yes. But then patients can also change the story because it's gonna be a he said she said situation without an evidence or
Mhm.
camera feed that say you hit them and you instantly lose your license. So I don't have the energy for that. If they start becoming agitated, I use our policy to attend to the situation. If they're psych, we have policies in place. If they start becoming agitated, do we call the behavioral team? Do we restrain this patient based on orders? Is this something where we need to get cops involved? Because some of them are not psychotic. Maybe they're just alcoholic. They're having withdrawals, or maybe they're there for incarceration. You know, which means the cops need them to be cleared, but they're getting very nasty or bad or mean. There was one patient that tried hitting us while we were collecting blood, and we needed to clear him for behavioral. Cops got involved. Obviously, I ducked and my coworker ducked. He hit the cop. Now he was medically cleared technically because he was not psych patient based on our ER doctor's assessment, but he hit the cop. So now he has a
No.
an offense, right? Because you're
The cop will
obstruction of
handle the
justice.
violence.
Yeah, but so many like suddenly you would have patients that are behind you and starts ranting at you or throwing things like in the ER. You have to have your senses. We're like Spider-Man there, every single movement. That's why now I'm still a little startled when there's sudden bum or like bang sound, I'm like, what is it? Like, I have to know what it is, because you don't know if that's the patient who fell or if that's the patient who jumped off the bed and starts running towards you, right? You have to be on top of your you have to have situational awareness, which patients can start running towards you. Sometimes it's not even your patients, it's someone else. But I've seen my coworker um, get beat inside the triage. All right, this is a whole case because we were told we cannot sue the patient. All right, that is not
Yeah.
true. You can sue the patient. Please file a case, because if you don't do that, you let it slide, they're gonna do it again to another nurse. So please do the healthcare industry a favor. Sue these patients that do that to you. This is the kindest nurse that we put in triage. You know, triage can be very, very high action because people want to go in, but hey, this is not McDonald's. We're not going here by who got in here first. We're going by acuity. So you're gonna have to wait. Be thankful that you're waiting, is what we tell them, because it means you're not coding, right? Because we take the codes first, something like that. But the point is, while inside the triage, patient was frustrated, obviously started beating the nurse. All right, it was a
Oh
whole
no.
chaos. The nurse didn't work at the bedside for 6 months because it's not only physical injuries. The nurse also got traumatized. I feel bad for the nurse, wherever she is at right now. I hope she's doing better, because she's the nicest. I was like, of all the people that will be hit, it got to be our nicest nurse. You know, the nurse who doesn't even, talk back to patients, all that. But those are only few. I've seen a lot. Patients, trying to sneak a gun, all right, while we're doing, while we're changing their clothes, they have a gun there, and they would literally verbally threat you and say, if I get that gun, I'm gonna start shooting you, right?
Mm.
So we gotta call the security to get those guns, right? I mean, ER is the wild, wild west. Like, I probably have stories for every single situation. And it's not only patients, parents of pediatric patients can be verbally abusive. Some of them would even take a video of you. Thankfully, in Texas, you cannot do that without my consent. But take a video of you. But you know how it is. They're gonna take a video of you and gonna cut it to where it makes you look
Yeah.
like you're bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell them I do not consent to take my video. And if you prefer to do that way, I do not intend to have my video taken. You gotta secure the consent of our legal team first, and I will not be able to perform my function if you keep taking a video of me or of my coworkers, right? Um, and once I became a charge nurse, I also talked to patients. We are not allowed, per policy, to take videos of our healthcare workers for their privacy. So please put your phone down so we can continue doing our stuff. Because in the first place, if it's actually a real emergency, nobody would pick up their phones to take a video of
Yeah.
them being intubated, right? It's mostly those patients that should not be in the ER anyway. So many stuff like that, from actual physical violence to verbally abusive patients, that we always tell our baby nurses, don't take it personally. If they start saying you're the worst nurse ever, it's a reflection of their behavior, not you as a professional nurse. Because at the end of the day, you're still a nurse. So don't take it personally, my sweet summer child. We say that, like, it's okay, don't worry. It's not about you. It's about them. So if they're not happy with your job, it's okay. You ask the other nurse to take care of it, but don't take it personally. Everyone will say mean things at you when you're in the ER. All right, we're so used to it that sometimes we have
You're
cynical
numb.
humor. Yeah, we laugh at it. Oh, thank you. Like, it's a badge of honor if someone does that. Oh my God, that's my first rad for today. Thank you. Something like that. We just make fun of it. But to be honest with you, it's actually very passive aggressive. Imagine coming into work with, wanting to help someone. You're ready for a cold, you're ready for a trauma, you're ready for a stroke, and here comes your influenza, sore throat slash UTI patient screaming at you like you're the worst nurse, right? So it's very passive aggressive on your end. But like we said, don't take it personally, move on. Now, it's different when they do physical violence. You have to raise that and you have to follow your protocols. Each hospital is mandated at the federal level to have workplace violence policies. That includes reporting, escalating, calling your security, calling cops. It's all in the guidelines and your policy. And you're also trained yearly. In the ER, I don't know with you guys. I think it's everyone. We get trained yearly, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
annual.
workplace
Yes,
Yep.
that's
bullying
part of
and
your annual
yeah, that's
compliance.
part of yes,
Workplace
annual compliance.
violence is always part of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Right,
Yep.
right,
So
right.
you have
It's
to
That's
a
make sure
must.
you're updated and you review all those materials. Again, every year you're given a compliance. Those
right.
slide shows, those slide presentation that you have to click next, 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 next. Well,
You
they're,
gotta
they're
read
yes,
it.
smarter now. You cannot click next, 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 next now. So
Yeah.
because
Yes.
you cannot
And
move
then
it
you
forward.
say,
And
we
then you
got
have
an
to take a certain time, right? Before you
yeah,
can go to the next.
Mm-hmm.
we got a nurse that got in trouble with that because it was not workplace violence, but something. But I was not aware of that. And our director got back at him and say, really? Because you signed your certification and you did your online module and you finished it. So how did you not know about
Yeah,
that?
so
What's in the module?
exactly.
So be
Yes.
careful with clicking next, next, next there
Next,
and
next, next,
signing
next.
your
Before,
online.
yeah,
Yeah.
they gave me 30 modules to finish in one day. Actually,
Mm.
half. They gave me 40 modules, but that was like more than 10 years ago. You can click next, 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 right? I
You
mean,
No, not
can, yes.
anymore.
yeah, because
Oh
I'm a
yeah, yeah,
travel
they're being smart.
nurse.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been doing this workplace violence modules orientation every 3 months of my
every
life.
contract. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm quite familiar with that. But you still have to go through because each facility will have different policy and procedure. Even if you have work in like a big facility for 10 years and then you're going to a small facility, it doesn't mean that you know everything. You cannot say, "Oh, I know this. This is what we do there." No. So when you're a new person, new employee to a new place, please always be mindful that there are rules that are different from where you come from, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to do what the Romans do in Rome. Okay.
Yes.
So when I say that, you have to follow the policy and procedure, like Paul said, Anna said. You have to know this specific procedure at the beginning, and you should not be starting a job and without understanding where to find those resources. If you were a victim of workplace violence,
right,
there are policy and procedure that you will have to follow. The first thing you do when you're in new facility, you go and ask, may I have the policy and procedure?
Mm-hmm.
If your workplace, especially, this is what I've been hearing with a lot of nursing homes, long-term care, rehab facilities, they were not given the policy and procedure. These
Red
nurses, when I
flag.
asked them, all right, I asked them, where is your policy and procedure? Did you ask for it? Oh, I was told by my senior nurse that we don't have it. I said, no, you have it. It's
you
just
do.
possibly they're not giving you. And why are they not giving you? Either they forgot, number one, or number two, there was nobody to orient you.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Or the worst is number three, they try to hide it from you. So when they bully you, you don't know what to do. And then
right,
you
right.
you cannot complain them because the first thing that administration or Department of Labor will ask, did you follow the policy and procedure of your facility? And if you
Yeah,
say no, Department of Labor will not entertain you because you have to follow first,
yes.
the
And
policy and
you have to
procedure of the
document
facility.
that. Followed according. I usually document
Yeah.
escalated according to policy. I always say
Mm-hmm.
that because remember, you take notes like you're gonna get to the court. If that's a violent issue, that might get to the court. To be honest with you, so those things you have to say per policy. Of course, it's given that it's per policy because but the court can drill you and say, did you follow the policy? Yes, according to my notes, I raised it to the security per policy. I called my compliance per policy. But also, okay, that is why I feel like nursing homes could do better with this. If you're working in the hospital, that's one of JCO question, and they drill that to you on day one. JCO, if they come in and accredit you, the first thing they ask nurses is, do you know where to find your policy? Because it's always in the computer. You have to know where it is. So in short, in the hospitals, there are more systems to like protect you because the accreditation of the hospitals also like boil down to you knowing these policies. They can get flagged by JACO for you not knowing these policies. I don't know how it is in nursing homes. I've heard that nursing homes, JACO is more lax or lenient or less restrictive. So that may be an issue. I know they're working on getting becoming more strict with nursing homes, but I don't think, to be honest with you, Ken, and I've said this before, that nursing home is a place for new immigrants to be in. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an ideal situation. and it's not an ideal nurse patient ratio, and it's also not an ideal workplace for you. Get your feet wet first, work in the hospital. That's how you should learn the ropes in the healthcare industry in the US. It's always different than what you're accustomed to. It doesn't matter if you worked in UK for 10 years or 15 years. You have to get your feet wet first. I would honestly not advise nursing homes.
Yeah, I'd like to add though, although I would say, Paul, that there are a lot of things that are happening in nursing home, long-term care rehab that are trying to, put their patients and their nurses in priority. And what
Yeah,
are those? If you go to ANCC, they started having those Daisy Awards for nursing home,
right,
long-term
right, right.
care, right? So there are a lot of activities that are happening to put emphasize or emphasize that we need to really take care of these nurses who are entering these places because this is
Yes,
the majority of the time is the entry level or the entry workplace for a lot of new grads or people who has no experience. So
right.
if ever you are going to go to nursing homes, long-term care rehab, or those facilities that you think that are kind of challenging, I'd recommend you consider those facilities who are like listed in, with awards for caring to the patient or caring
Right,
about
right.
their employees. I do believe that there's also designation now for excellence for pathway. And shout out to Christine Pabico from our ANA Pathway for Excellence. They're
AMCC,
doing
yeah.
a great job because they're certifying employers who really take care of their nurses. No,
Yeah.
because magnet designation is a designation that credits those hospitals that give quality patient care, right? But there is also a designation of pathway for excellence who have met the criteria for great employers to nurses. So please look into those certifications. Although I'm not saying 100% these are great hospitals or facilities,
Mhm.
right? But having a designation gives you a little bit layer or a little layer of protection,
Protection. Yeah.
knowing that these institutions, they're not perfect, but they have to adhere to this criteria to keep those certifications. Okay.
Hmm.
So it gives you a little bit peace of mind that there is better opportunity, better treatment, rather than going to a place that has nothing protection. And if you will go to a ProPublica nursing home research or nursing home investigation, you will also find information of which places have the highest turnover. If you see these places who has highest turnover of nurses, then there is a huge potential that these nurses are not, are probably be overwork, which leads to stress. And most of the people who are very stressful in their lives are they're full of stress. Stress is from within, and then it will just come out in a
Right.
way. If they're negative from the inside, there's a high risk or high potential that the things that will come out of their mouth are negative too. So then
Right.
that's where your workplace violence, bullying will happen. So those are a lot of information that you can look into before you accept any job, right?
Okay, those are very informative, Nurse K. I feel like I listened to a 1 hour talk by listening.
Yeah, so
But I,
Anna.
I, I agree with Dr. Nurse Paul. Like, I know I started in a nursing home, but I started in a exactly nursing home wherein I have 7 residents in the 71. But nowadays,
70?
it's a unicorn.
70.
70 or 7?
7.
Oh
No,
my
not
god, I
70.
thought I heard
7.
70.
I thought
It
I
Exactly.
better not be 70 because I'm gonna start
No.
calling Medicare for that. No,
No, I
yeah,
have
but
7 only. 7 is for
that's
one.
good.
So, and it's an exact right nursing home. So, we're from newborn to 18-year old. So, we're not really
Mhm.
got the workload was not really heavy. But nowadays, I receive a lot of messages. It's very rare. It's a unicorn to have a 7 patient in a nursing home. So, I agree with Dr. Nurse All. If I were you or got you for nurses coming in the US, try your best to get a experience to work in a hospital. So you have got leverage to work in a hospital. So while we're waiting for Miss Kay, let me share my topic for today. Dr. Nurse will discuss about workplace violence, almost in general, but mine will be specific. We are going to talk about active shooter. Yes, it's happening in a hospital. It's not only in schools and bomb threats. And like what Dr. Nurse Paul and Kay said, it will be included in your annual in your orientation and in your annual learning. You have to know what to do when you encounter all of this. Now, I don't have a specific real-time data and on gun violence in a hospital. It may vary based on recent events and regional factors. However, it's happening and it's sad that as a healthcare worker, we are being targeted and it's a one way or another thing to be scared of. Like the nurse all said, you want to go to work, not just to earn, but to take care of the people, to do what your passion is. So number one, a moderator, can you please show the active shooter? So gun violence, as you know, is very prevalent in the U.S. because having a gun is one of the rights of the Americans, and it really varies in states. Like in Texas, you can carry it. So gun violence in hospital is a concerning and complex issues that poses significant challenges to healthcare facilities, staff, and the safety of patients. While hospitals are generally considered places of healing and care, incidents involving firearms can have severe consequences and disrupt the normal functioning of this critical institution. So when I came here in the US 8 years ago, one of my modules part of the orientation was gun violence, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, do you mean gunshot or shooting happened in a healthcare facility, hospital, nursing home, clinic? And my educator said, yes, Anna, welcome to America. Because where I came from the Philippines, this gun violence or active shooting was not part of my orientation process. So for those who are coming here, let your eyes be open. It's part of your American dream, but you have to be aware of this. So like what I said, in the hospital, it's part of your orientation. They will teach you. You have to pay attention what to do, how to react if there's an active shooter in the building. And first, there will be a security measure hospital will implement or any healthcare facility a security measure to prevent unauthorized individuals from bringing firearms to the premises. Remember, nurses, when you start to work, you have an ID badge. It's like a magnetic. You have to uh, bags in and bags out before you can enter the building. And before, when I started working, they won't even check your bags. But because of this happening, now we have security in every door or entrance or exit of the hospitals. And we also have an emergency response protocol that you as a nurse must be responsible in learning how to deal with if you heard the cold or gunshot or active shooter. So just FYI, when you have your bags, you're gonna have a card in there. You're gonna see the different hospital code. Like for example, if you heard the cold silver, it means there's an active shooter in the building. They're not going to announce, oh, there's an active shooter in building one or in second floor. They're not gonna announce that. So you have to learn. You have to be familiarized with the codes of your hospital. Or if you hear amber code, it means a exactly or a baby is missing. So aside from that, learning the emergency response protocols, you there should be a patient and visitor screening. When you work in med surg, when you admit a patient always ask and be aware if your patient or the patient visitor is carrying a weapon or a gun. And part of your assessment is also the mental health assessment of your patient. If you don't know what they're carrying or what they're experiencing, and the training and simulation exercises. So what will I do, Miss Anna, if I heard the code or code silver that there's an active shooter? You have to hide as much as possible. Get out, hide out, flip out, and take out. Take out means fight. But that will be the very last thing that you do. Firstly, if you have to get out of the place. And second, you have to hide. Hide in every corner or room that you can barricade it. Make sure that you're not gonna make any noise, and then keep out. And worst or worse, you have to fight for your life. Because listen, you have to go home alive for your family. Okay, so one thing to be safe is to be to keep up with the training that's happening on your orientation first day and or annual like you're having annual training or simulation. Pay attention to this. Do not just it's another module that I have to complete. Because gun violence is very prevalent in the US. Moderator, can we show my slide? Not that one, the other one. Or maybe I did not say it. Oh, anyway, so just let me share with you the violence that I experienced. One of the hospital in Bronx, Lebanon, in Bronx. There's an active shooting that happened, and it's a doctor who came in and he shot his workmates and 5 other nurses that work. And then after 4 years, I worked in the hospital, and those nurses shared what they experienced. So, gun violence can happen from the healthcare worker that work in the hospital or from the patient that suffering. One of the patient in Portland causing trouble in maternity ward. The hospital's name is Legacy Good Samaritan Medical Center. It happened last year, July 22, 2023. The visitor was trying to abduct his son from the baby mama, and he killed the security guard and one OB nurse. However, in Oklahoma, June 2022, in St. Francis Health System in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a patient shot the surgeon because he was blaming the surgeon for the pain that he was experiencing. And like what Dr. Nurse told us earlier, psychiatric patient, when they have their attack. So you have to be very aware, always do your assessment, and know what to do when you hear the code active shooter in the building or code silver. And another thing is be aware of your surroundings. If you hear something, check it out, and don't just ignore it or maybe something fell. Another thing aside from gunshot or active shooter that's happening in the building is bomb threat. Yes, it's happening also. I also work in one of the hospitals in New York wherein we have to be evacuated because one nurse in maternity ward received a call from a caller saying I have a bomb in one of the buildings. So what will I do if you receive that call? Are you gonna be scarred? Are you gonna be frozen? No, nurses. You have the responsibility to react accordingly, to know the protocol. Okay, so what should we do? Keep the caller talking. Ask questions and be familiarized with the sounds or the noises that you're hearing from the caller and ask where's the bomb located and ask pertinent information while while you as a nurse writing in a piece of paper handling to your co-nurses. So keep the call like in the longer, I come to the inaugurator, the bomb threat. Where is the bomb located? When it will go off? What kind of bomb it is? Just click the color, click OK. Uh, when it will make it explode? Who will place the bomb? Yes or no, and why? And I'm telling you, nurses, the hospital will always take the call seriously, even if it's a prank or no. So you as a nurse have the responsibility to notify your manager or call or get told. So that's my copy or my R at including in a bomb threat. I hope and pray that you're not gonna experience that. But I experienced the bomb threat and it's not fun running, especially when you're in the middle of the cave, right? Like
Right.
you don't know should I run? I don't wanna die here or I don't wanna be a patient. But because you know the policy, you know the protocols, somehow it gives you a little peace of mind because you know that the hospital have an emergency response program. I wanna ask my friends, have you experienced this? Or nurse
Well,
call?
and there's a code. I think it's code silver. You have to
Yeah, from
the
active
policy.
shooter.
I think general policy is to call that overhead. It's an
Mhm.
emergency, so you got to call that overhead situation. It's a code silver situation. There's different
Yes,
codes for many things. Like for us, for behavioral or aggressive patient, it's code green, depending on certain places. But code silver,
yes,
I think, is pretty standard. What you're gonna do, again, read your guidelines or policies, but you have to call your overhead pager to announce that there's a code silver in the hospital. You
silver.
have to provide as much information as you can, like Anna said. But Anna, here's a expert tip for ER nurses. Your keys for your car should be in your pocket all the time.
Oh,
In the ER, we're close to the exit all the time. Okay, I know where my exits are. Situational awareness is key. So when there's a need for evacuation, whether it be by fire, code silver, or whatever situation, I can easily run. But do not leave your keys on the table because if you need to run and you need to
the
drive out,
locker.
yeah, I have my keys always. But I mean that's ER. Okay, we're close. We're always by the exit because that's ER,
How
right?
about
We're
you in
always in the
BK? We're in fourth floor in the OR.
Yeah, so OR sometimes they're in the bunker now. So the whole hospital's evacuated already, and the OR is like, oh, I don't know. I hear that
Should we
alarm.
close?
It's
Should
the
we keep it
alarm is
open?
Ignore
going,
it, right?
and the fire doors just closed. But hey,
Is it false alarm?
we hear that all the time. The whole hospital's alarming, and the OR people are like, oh, the fire door just closed. It's okay. You can just open it again.
I'm
Right.
not
You
gonna
can
deny
push
that.
it.
Yes,
Because the OR
when
is
it's
very close,
happening
right?
a lot.
It's outside. I feel like the operating room has their own world when it comes
Yeah.
to all the departments. It's like all departments evacuate except operating room, right? So I feel like that's how we are. Like, hey, go chill. Don't remove the patient from anesthesia machine. So now, kidding aside, we have, as me as a traveling nurse for many years, every single time the first thing that I just have to remember, okay, well, not first, but the most important thing when you are new in a facility, or you as a traveling nurse, a contract nurse, an immigrant nurse, a new grad, or a new transfer employee, first thing you have to know, what are your emergency things. Okay, number one, what is the code number? Okay,
Mhm.
where's the code card? I can forget where the Foley catheter is, but you should never forget where the code card is.
Yeah.
You should never forget where the exit door is. You should
Yep.
never forget where the fire extinguisher is. Okay,
These are like
so
JCO questions for accreditation. I was a charge nurse in the
Yes.
ER, so this should be on top of your mind. Where's your nearest fire extinguisher? Here.
yeah,
Where's
right.
the
But you have
policy?
to know that.
I
Yes,
can
it's
forget
part of the
where when I
drill.
come to the new place. I don't care if I forget my badge.
Mm,
I should never
true.
forget where the code card is. I can
Yes.
forget where my stethoscope is. But I should never forget where the fire extinguisher is in case
Fire
of
exit.
emergency.
Fire exit
Fire
to
exit. And
situational awareness.
Exactly. So those are the most important things. Sometimes I'm in a rush. I would go to work without any pen. That's totally fine.
Right,
I can find pen anywhere, but I should know where the fire exit is.
But
right.
with me,
But
my bag is my lifesaver because I always have a paper or a card
Yeah.
in there with all the
yes,
numbers that I
Yes.
can use. And I can't remember all the door with this code.
Yeah.
right,
That will be my lifesaver. And I
right.
like that the corners all your key should always
Yes.
be in your pocket, even if we're not in the ER, but or the ER nurses
For
out there.
emergencies. But
They
Yes.
have
also,
their nice.
Anna and Kay, there's also a lockdown policy. Even if
Yeah,
we're in the ER and we can see
definitely.
outside, there's a lockdown policy. Once those codes kick in, for example, code silver situation, bomb threat or active shooter, or code red fire situation, there might be a lockdown procedures where what you do is to call the pager so they can lock it down, or charge nurses would always have access to manual lockdown, which means all the doors are gonna be locked down. You can't exit as well. So you have to find a place where to go. There should be drills, all right, that your policy should be doing yearly. That's part of annual competency of what to do during the situations.
Yep.
Don't
And I
forget
encourage, yeah,
picnic.
I encourage a lot of employers or nursing managements in their department. What is really helpful when we start our job and make our life easier as a transitional nurse? I always have those numbers printed out as part of your
Yes.
Yeah.
management. If you want to make your nurses more efficient in responding to these emergencies, again, print those numbers on a little piece of paper and code them, color code them, whatever will make it easy for your nurses to remember. Put the numbers, put the department, the quick numbers that they need to do. First things first, what are the emergency number? Because this is the first thing I had a mistake when I was new in the United States.
Mhm.
I forgot there was no number to guide me on my badge.
Right.
Right now, a lot of employers would put those emergency numbers as part of their orientation. They will give it together with a clip, and they will tell you put this on the back of your badge. But before
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
there was none. So we were having a code, right? And my newbie mistake as a new immigrant in the United States. You know what number I called? Zero.
911.
Nope, I
Zero
called zero.
operator.
Operator. And it took forever to answer the phone because the operator is picking up not only the hospital internal phone calls, but they're picking up the people who's calling from outside. Hey,
Agent.
you know, hey, I'd like to inquire about where to park. And so I was on the queue of caller. So, and then the operator said, "Did you just call me to tell for emergency purpose?" And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry because I couldn't find the directory right away."
Yeah.
Right? And this is the fastest way for me to grab. And said, there should, again, if you belong to a big institution, there is an internal number for emergency. It's not your operator. Don't
Oh,
follow it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
And
not a,
sometimes it's easy to remember. I have hospitals where I called 77777
yeah,
62222 9111
yes.
91111. But also, I like to put it on the phone. Emergency, call this number. But you have to page it overhead. Codes. I have some baby nurses that scream in the hallway, code, code. You have a code um,
Yes.
button there inside a room, and you can just call your pager so they can page it overhead, so you don't have to be frantically screaming. But in the ER, it's normal. Everybody screams anyway. But yes, yeah, you have to
Even
know your
OR
emergency
normal
numbers.
and door.
Yeah, and there's also those in some of the hospitals I've been in the cubicles of the waiting room. They have those like a pull button or pull lever for patient if you need like rapid response or emergency.
Yeah,
So
yes, yes.
you have to know also where you're in the operating room because sometimes it's behind the anesthesia machine because it's closest to the
Mhm,
anesthesiologist. So you
mhm.
pull that button, okay? Probably in Texas they will pull yeehaw and they pull that.
Hey
I'm
y'all.
not sure. I'm not sure about OR, but in the floors and in the ER, it's by the head, right?
Yes.
There's multiple buttons there. I forgot already, but there's of course the blue is the cold blue button. All
Yes.
right,
So
so you just
so
press that.
Correct. So now going to the next topic, which is bullying
Yay!
and
I've been waiting for this.
and workplace. So I don't have a fancy slides like them right now because I'm in the car. But I'm pretty sure I don't need to show it on the picture. There's different kinds of bullying. Number one is verbal. Example of that happened to me as a new immigrant here in the United States. This person has always been telling me, hey shorty, right? Because I'm 5 feet. Hey shorty. So that's name calling, right? So that is a form of bullying if it's happening repetitive. Bullying is somebody, it actually happens when these criteria are met. Somebody from some person on a higher designation or title, and it's being done to somebody who's on the lower title or position. So an example to that is if it's being done by management to the nurse, or the executive, the higher executive going to the middle management, or highest executive going to the frontliners, or even on physicians, let's say attending physicians to their residents, attending physicians to their nurses, which is a lot of nurses are getting bullied apparently in the operating room for this, because we deal with surgeons, anesthesiologists, residents, physicians, PA. So there is a lot of hostility when it comes to those with higher ranking people. um, and then it has to be also repetitive. If a person did it only once, I don't think that will be considered bullying. It can be also misinterpretation. Okay, so things that you will have to remember when bullying, again, somebody from with power going to somebody with less power, or somebody who is higher position going to lower position, and it has to be repetitive. You cannot point a finger to a person who's bullying when the situation is like this. Hey, you're late today, right? You should be coming soon. You should be coming early because the time is at 7 a.m., not 7:10 a.m. Okay, you cannot accuse that person of bullying, because number one, well, they're just probably emphasizing the rules of tardiness in the place, right? And it's not like they're doing that every single day, right? So you have to know how to differentiate bullying from a person who's just emphasizing the rules of the facility. Because a lot of people have reached out to me, hey, I feel like I've been bullied by this person. And when I look at or assess the full scenario, and I said, this is not bullying. You're probably just misinterpreting what they were saying, because there is cultural differences. There are language, differences as well. I can be saying a word which is same Spanish, but totally different from a Puerto Rican and a person from mainland Spain, right? So there are a lot of communication issues here in the United States. So the first thing you will have to do is, when you hear something that you probably feel like it's kind of offensive, the first thing that I will say to them is, excuse me, can you repeat that again? Right? You can just say that professionally or courteously. Again, if somebody's bullying you or you feel like saying something that is very offending to you, excuse me, can you repeat that again? All right. So that's one thing to confirm, and not jumping into conclusion that somebody is saying something against you or bullying you. Um, so somebody told me one time, AK, you need to speak English. You need to understand English. I'm like, hey, I've been here in the United States for 5 years and I passed my English test, passed my English exam, but doesn't mean I don't know English. I said to them, it's just the accent here is very different from where I came from. And that's why I keep on saying, excuse me, can you repeat that again? This person was probably annoyed because I keep on saying that because the accent is so strong. But then we have to understand that we are not in the profession of assumption. Okay, because one anesthesiologist kind of bully me, and then you know keep on because I'm new to that place, and I keep on asking, and this person probably annoyed too because I was asking things. And then the response to me said, you should know that already because you're a nurse. And I said to her, I know the facts, I know the foundation, but we are not in the profession of assumptions. Hence, we have to confirm orders. Okay, so especially if it's medication order, I want to confirm, and we should always confirm. And some things, some things people say that because you've been asking many times because you're new. So, to avoid hostility, you just have to make sure that you verify that in what they are telling you. And sometimes I ask him, "Excuse me, do you mind explaining what you said to me? Um, I just want to make sure that I'm getting it right." So you can also say that. You don't need to jump into conclusion and just start fighting. So as a new traveler, a new nurse in a new place, I always feel like I've been bullied or I've been singled out. And second thing, I'm a minority. There will always be at least one. All right. So don't expect everybody in your new place will like you. Because number one, there are people who probably are doing a lot of overtime. And since you came, now they don't have a lot of overtime anymore, right? They have to find extra income somewhere else. So I find this set of people a little bit annoyed by your arrival, right? so so that's one thing where I get this hostility mostly from, because the people will tell me, "Hey Kay, because you came, now she can't or he cannot do overtime anymore." And so what they're trying to do is intimidate you so you leave so they will have more overtime. I'm like, really? That's it? Well, for other people, it's a big deal. Okay. But to some, it's not a big deal. And they're very thankful that you arrive as a contractual nurse or as additional staff because that's extra help for them. But some people will take it negatively. And, this is reality. Nobody will, not all people will like you. And you have to accept that. But
I
the thing is,
agree.
right, Paul, not, don't expect everybody will like you, but expect everybody to act professional. That's all
Right.
you have to think. If you're setting an expectation that, oh, I'm very nice to them, why are they still mean to me? It's not your problem. Some people are just mean by themselves or bully by themselves because at one point of their time, they have been bullied too. And if you remember your psychology, there's a thing called reflection, which is sometimes it's been happening to them at home, and then what they do as a coping mechanism is they do that to other people outside their home. So there are things that happen like that, and I've seen like a lot of children who are bullied at home. When they get to school, they are the bully, right? So it's actually in the psychology. Um, so what I tell these people, if you're being confronted with this difficult work colleagues, the first thing is you have to tell them you set your boundaries. Tell them, "Hey, I've been noticing that you've been saying this more often to me, and I'm not comfortable with that." You have to be assertive. Said, "I'm not comfortable with that, and if I can ask you to stop doing it." Again, set your boundaries. But I understand that a lot of immigrant nurses don't have that assertiveness within them yet. They don't have confidence to say that to the other person because they're new. I understand that. So what you will have to do if you're in that situation, go to your management, okay? Your supervisor, and you just tell them, "I'm not comfortable. This person has been telling me quite a lot of times already that, calling me names. Hey, shorty. Hey, let's say, hey, sexy girl. Hey, chinky eyes. Hey, chinita." That you feel that you're not comfortable because they're calling you names or bullying you, or maybe even sexually, like touching you, you did not welcome that physical contact, and somebody's doing that in your workplace. So the first thing you will have to do is write a letter. Okay, write an email to your management, to your supervisor, to your director, and CC your HR. Okay, CC your HR, because this should be handled by your management. I always tell people, you're a nurse. It's not your job to fix other people, right? It's not your job to fix your colleagues. That is the HR and the management's problem that they have to fix. That's why there's manager. That's why there's HR. If you are trying to put in your hands how to fix other people, most likely hostility will just come in that workplace. You don't do that. I'm from New York City, and I have seen my coworkers like cat fight in the operating room, and we have to stop it. And I have seen a lot of, trash talking, bullying. But I'm gonna tell you, just keep your hands to yourself, right? But again, please don't wait until you reach to the point that you're gonna explode. If you're not comfortable the first time, the second time, the third time, you should be addressing that to the management and to the HR. Again, always keep in mind, it's not your job to fix your colleagues' behavior in the workplace. That is the HR and the management's responsibility. Now, if you feel like the HR and the management or your unit manager is not addressing these concerns, and it's still happening. One example is a surgeon who has a big name in that hospital, right? Because surgeons bring a lot of money to the hospitals, and probably they're the one of the best profit generating for the company, and or bringing the prestigious name into the hospital. What if a prestigious surgeon does that to you, touch you, touch you that you did not want? All you have to do is report it to the management. If the management is not, addressing it, then that's the time you go outside. So first, internal, which means within your facility, talk within the facility. If you feel like your management is protecting that behavior or that unwanted or unprofessional behavior, like touching you, sexually abusing you, or physically or verbally abusing you, and the management is not doing that, and the HR is not doing anything either, and you have followed up with them, again, write an email. If they're not doing anything, do a follow-up email the next day or within 3 days. If they're still not doing anything, do your last follow-up. 3 emails, okay? 2 to 3 emails. If the management is still not doing anything, then that's the time you need to bring it out to manage it. US Department of Labor is there for harassment, discrimination. Okay, so again, EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, right? EEOC. So those are your resources. If you have money, well, go ahead and get your own personal lawyer, right? So again, please do not keep it to yourself, and talk to someone who you think you can trust in that facility and ask them hey, this thing happened to me and I'm not comfortable. What do you think I should do best? Okay, because I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of your colleagues are good people. I would say, in my experience, right? In my experience, 90% of my colleagues are good people. I would say more than. It's just sometimes today they're cranky because something happened, and this is part of our life. And although I know that, something that happens outside workplace is not an excuse to be rude or mean to anyone, but sometimes it's unavoidable. We're human being. We make mistakes, we say things that we don't mean sometimes, but doesn't mean that person is a bad person at all. So I will tell you, reach out to those person that you think you can trust, who are matured enough as well and professional. Some of these people might be strict people that you might not like them because they're strict, but on the other side, they're actually just good professionals. So please reach out to them, because they have, there are very good resources as well on what to do. And as always, if you're feeling being harassed or being abused at work, the first thing you also do is look at that policy and procedure of that hospital or that facility, because it will guide you step by step procedure on how to address that professionally within your management. Okay, that's my presentation.
I just want to share something about sexual harassment. Because I remember one of my friends experience. So, or go for people who are very touchy, like we who are into like hate, putting your hand on someone's shoulder, or like no malice at all. Be very careful with that, because the person who's around you might report you. Not just if it's a legal one you touch. Sexual harassment means if ever you felt uncomfortable with a joke, with an act, or with something that you're in a nurse station and you're talking with Kathy and someone felt uncomfortable, you can be reported, even if you're just there listening and not participating. And it's really a ground or termination or canceling your contract. Like, there's no win-win solution for that, especially if you're a traveler. So, just be very careful. Like Faye said, keep your hands to yourself, even if, like, you're a touch person. Like me, I've learned that, like, personal space. Because I love to hug people. I love to,
Yes.
hey, come here, can you sit beside me? Or put my arm on your shoulder. But when I came here, that's one thing that I really learned a lot, even if you're the same gender because you don't know if you're really same gender, right? So that's one thing to remember. How about you guys in the ER?
Different cultures would have different
Yes,
practices
yes.
too. And
You
another
cannot
thing I
just
would
say no malice from me. That's no malice.
yeah,
No, that's a whole new role
right.
here in nurses.
As far as reporting is involved, we have escalation policies. You want to escalate that to your supervisor first, if not director. If not, you go to your next step up, either the HR, if it's related to workplace bullying. You also want to inform house supervisor or administrator of the day. And if that doesn't work, usually hospitals have compliance officers. These are mandated by the feds to have compliance officers. You can anonymously tip it or you can actually report it with your name. They cannot get back to you
Not
because that's
retaliation.
retaliation because we have non-retaliation rules as well for whistleblowers. um, you can raise that. But also, I want to emphasize from ANA website, there are state laws designating penalties for assaults that include nurses in the law. So, which means you cannot assault nurses. Establish or increase penalties for assault for nurses include Alabama, Arkansas, what is AR? Arizona. What
Mm-hmm.
is what is AR? Hold on, I'm not good. Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana. What is ID?
I know.
Um, Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana. Here are the M's. Missouri. What is MO? MS is Mississippi, Mississippi, Missouri, what is NE? Nevada, NE, New Mexico, New York, North
You
Carolina,
can have a
Ohio,
question first.
Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington State, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. So these states have protections for nurses against workplace violence. But again, each state is different. It might be a felony, misdemeanor, or it might be, whatever case. But check your state laws and make sure you know how to protect yourself because you do not only want to escalate it hospital level, you also want to escalate it and pursue a case. If that's something like sexual harassment or bullying tactics and threatening, right? Anything that prevents you from performing at the top of your expertise as a nurse to provide quality care, anything that threatens you to do that is a form of workplace violence in the guise of bullying or sexual harassment. Even repeated jokes can actually be bullying, especially like what Kay said. They call you different names because you're Asian. There's stereotypes, they call you certain names or they call you certain whatever color. And I've experienced that as well. But I always tell them, you better stop calling me that way because that's very stereotypical. I
Mm-hmm.
have my
Yes,
name. And I
I told him
prefer to
stop
be,
calling me Shorty, okay?
yeah.
Because I'm not Shorty. You can call me Beyonce, but not Shorty. Right? So I said to them, he said Shinabi. So that's a good thing that we mentioned this. I want to add it. I'm pretty sure you guys all heard about the Oscars, right? Joe
Hmm.
Coy. And this
Yes,
is a
yes,
very
yeah.
controversial thing. And I always see like Joe Coy is like a Filipino nurse or immigrant nurse who took the job nobody wanted, right? So this is a delayed reaction, but this is very, very relevant. Jokoy took the job that nobody wanted, and he was given
Left.
only short time to present. So
Mm-hmm.
if you put yourself as an immigrant nurse or a traveling nurse, it's similar. You're the person who's picking a job nobody wanted. And number two, you're only given a very short time to prepare. Okay. And number three, this is not your house. Okay. So again, if you see a lot of reviews were like torn, he did a very good job. Joko is a very good comedian, but everybody will say when you say jokes to other people, there is a certain thing about connection and relationship.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you don't touch anybody that is your first time that you met because you've been doing this to your besties before. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you don't. Okay, if you say, "Hey, Paul, Shorty, how are you doing down there?" Right? How's the weather down there, Shorty?
Out there.
If I say that to Paul wouldn't probably bother about it,
Mhm.
right? But if I
Because we're
come to
friends.
you,
Yeah.
we're friends, we have a relationship. If I call Anna, you big B, what the heck are you doing here, right? Anna probably wouldn't take it personally against me. But if
Yeah, we're
I'm
not close.
yeah, because we have that relationship. But if you're gonna come to a new place and you started touching this people's butt or slapping this because this person I've been doing this to my colleagues before, or I
Mm-hmm.
call that, Paul, this is my first day at work. I'm a traveler and I don't know you, you don't know me. And I call you, hey shorty, what's up? How's the weather down there? I'm like probably Paul be looking at me like, who the hell are you, right?
Calling HR right now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get reported. So again, if you're new in a new place, new environment, don't feel so confident to make jokes right away to people because you don't know them
Right.
and they don't know you and they might find it offensive
Offensive.
and
Yeah.
then you're gonna get reported, okay?
Right.
But
Remember
if
assessment, right? Recognize the cue.
exactly, and for you it was nothing, it was just a joke, but for other it's abusive and offensive and defamatory, right?
Right.
So that
So
are the things
always
that you have to be careful.
always maintain professional boundaries as well. When
Mm-hmm.
those boundaries are blurred, that's where bullying and harassment comes in. And remember, harassment can be in many forms. So it might be the other way, where like Kay is saying, you might be the one getting flagged or investigated for
Mm-hmm.
harassment because you're blurring those lines. So you come to work. I always tell that to nurses, the mentality where when you're at work. Now, if you make friends there, good, but you don't have to
Yes.
make friends. You don't have to befriend the whole department, right? You don't
Yes.
have
Yes.
to do that. This is not a um, friendly group
This is
community where we all can talk
reality.
in the park and something. No, this is work. After all, you probably could make few friends and
Yes.
professional boundaries at all time. Even if you're friends, I have friends in the ER, but when we're at work, we're at work. When we're outside work, yes, we make fun of each other. When we're at work, especially if people's lives are on the line. I don't play around with that. I call them out if I think they're blurring out the boundaries and say, hey, you're supposed to do your job. I know you're my friend, but I'm your charge nurse today. You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do your job. If you can't do your job, I'm going to send you home and bring someone else to do it. Because at the end of the day, we're working here. And my friends know that I can be stern as a charge nurse because I don't play around in the ER because I'm also responsible for everyone else as a charge
Mm-hmm.
nurse. So that's it. So when you set that boundary, your friends will understand that when we're at work, we're at work. But after work,
Yeah.
sure, we can play around. And then again, you don't have to make friends with everybody, but you can be cordial. You can be
Yeah.
acquaintance to where you speak very respectfully to a person, even if they're mean to you. You don't have to fight back, right? Because at the end of the day, after the job, thankfully, you don't have to live with this person 24 hours a day, right? So the relationship ends after work. If I see you again tomorrow, sure, but our relationship ends after shift. So that's it. Maintain professional boundaries. Do not let anyone cross that line. You set a limit and you say, hey, this is becoming a little offensive, and I think we're close enough for you to be making fun of my race, of my accent, or of
Mhm.
my color, or the way I do
Yeah.
things. I'm gonna set the limit right here. If you cross that limit again, I might have to report you. I don't have to do it right now. I'm trying to be professional. So that's it. We're all adults in the nursing world. We're all adults. We're all professionals. We're all licensed. Set
Yep.
the limit. It's not being
Yeah.
rude. It's just telling them, hey, this is my limit. You cannot cross it. I give you a warning.
So
Yeah.
let me share with my part. Like I received a message from Facebook. Mom, how will you handle bullying when you have a physical defect? Well, as you all know, I have a speech problem, cleft lip and palate. I work here in New York for almost 8 years now, and I'm happy to say that I have never experienced or be bullied because they kind of understand what I'm saying. I like when I was in the Philippines, doctors make fun of me. They will imitate the way I talk, and then they will tell me, "Oh, Anna, don't be so skin onion. Why you get hurt? Easily. But no, there's a certain limit between being friendly and about joking how I talk. Especially like Dr. Nurse all mentioned, when you're working, you're working. So in here in the US, there's no discrimination if you have a physical how can you say it? I don't want to say disabled or if you have a problem, an inborn. No, I have never experienced that. I work in the OR. I communicate well. I work with different nationalities, with different accents. I handle patients, receive patients from floors, from the ER to have a surgery. I try my best to really communicate and relay clearly what I'm trying to say. And no, none of the surgeons yell at me because what? What are you trying to say? I am blessed. That's why I love working here in the US because
Right.
they accepted me. I, however, experienced bullying from my own kababayan, my own kind. You know, you're they said love your own, but sadly it doesn't happen. you know, one Filipino like made fun of me. She thought I couldn't hear her in one of the hospitals here in New York. Like I don't know how she got a job here. I can't even
And now
understand her.
and now you're a social
Yes,
media influencer. Let's name her.
Yay!
Let's name
Yeah.
her. I'm just kidding. Now you're a social media influencer. Let's name
no,
her. I'm
I
just kidding.
forgave
Don't
her,
do
but
that. Yeah.
it's sad because she's been here longer than me and in
Mhm.
here, I mean, you should know that in the US, there's no racism. Well, somehow, and there's also been no bullying. Any type from you, my own kababayan, who also, thanks you and empower you and advocate. But with the surgeons that I work, sometimes they say, "Hey, Anna, I'm sorry. I didn't hear clearly what you said." So now I feel bad, right? So
Right.
there's or got you for nurses coming here, do not be scared, do not worry.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
you have impairment, it will not hinder or achieve your American dream. That's why I love coming here. It will not be easy, but you can work here. And there are laws and policies that can protect you. Do not be scared.
Right.
Take that IELTS. It doesn't matter. You fail 5 times like me. Come
Right.
here, work with you, and enjoy your American dream. Right? Like the
Right.
corners point, hey, we're enjoying our life here.
Right.
Yes. We got,
just just be just be resilient, manage your expectations that this is part
Mm-hmm.
of the reality, but you got to know what to do. And always, like I said to my baby nurses, I'll share it again to you guys, like what I said earlier, don't take it personally. When
Yeah.
people
yeah.
do this to you at work, it's more of a reflection of them than you. I've been called many names. I've been called Waldo because I used to wear glasses before. Where's Waldo? so i
Oh
just
yeah.
told the patient I just told the patient, I love Waldo growing up. I
Yeah.
love Waldo growing up. I would have cards to look for Waldo all the time. I take that as a compliment, but I prefer to be called Paul. When you're ready to call me Paul, that's my name. I'm going to be
Yeah.
ready to work with you. All right. But for now, let me go attend to my patient that needs me the most. The other time I was told by my patient, you go back home to your country. And I said, well, this is my country now. So I don't know where else to go. But when you're ready to work with me, I'm going to come back in and be the nurse that you need. Okay, so something like that. Or one mom told me, "Don't hurt my kid," because we were trying to poke the kid, right? We haven't even tried anything, but some people can be sensitive. I said, well, good thing you're in the ER because nobody's trying to hurt anyone here. We're trying to protect you and help your kid to make sure that he gets the best quality of care. So when you're ready to work with me, when you're ready to work with us, we're going to come back again. For now, we're going to step back so you can manage your emotions because we're here to work and we're here to make sure that we provide quality care. We can't do that if we're screaming inside the room. So that's what I say. Set that limit, and do not let them, do not make yourself feel like they're evaluating you because they
Yeah.
called you out or something. It's more of a reflection for them. In the first place, if something were wrong from what you do, that comes from your supervisor. The remediation from your supervisor. Patients should not be able to tell you how to do your stuff. Sometimes I speak in a very straightforward manner. Probably it's my ER background, but I tell them, let me be the nurse, all right? So I can take care of you, all right? So you do not have to tell me how to be a nurse because I am the nurse. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I'm doing, I know my scope. I'm not going to go beyond my scope. Sometimes doctors, I would remind them, let me be the nurse, all right? Otherwise, you can do it if you think you can do it, right? And with the patients too, I always remind them, okay, let me be the nurse, which means let me provide this care for you, and you can always refuse it. There's no forcing you. You can always sign the AMA form or consent to not allow treatments. That's it. But always set the limits. Be on guard and do not make it about you. All right? Because if you start absorbing all these energies, in the ER we say you have to have like what you call that? A steel of heart, honey, because it's not about you, it's about them. So do not take it personally. At the end of the day, you're a quality nurse, whether one person speaks to you this way, whether that's your patient or a coworker, there's 10 other, 15 other people that you were able to help that day that said thank you just by being there for them and reassuring them that you will take good care of them. So focus on the positive and on the negative, but also set limits, report them, please. And because if we do not report, that person would pathologic malignant behavior will keep doing it because they will think it's okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
abusive will always be abusive until you
Mm-hmm.
put a stop on it.
Mhm.
Um, say a story about me being written up. Okay, me being written up not once but
Who wrote you
twice.
up?
Okay, so the first one
What's the
was
T?
okay. So because I'm a charge nurse in a trauma
Right.
center. Okay, when I'm a charge nurse of a trauma center, I expect every single nurse who would come to the trauma team to be knowledgeable of at least their ACLS, of their BLS. Okay, so I got written up because I told one of the nurses, you might have to go back to the day shift. Okay, because trauma team, this shift, especially the weekend shift, we don't have anybody else here in the
At
operating
night
room.
shift, yeah.
Right.
if
Right.
if if you guys are aware, operating room runs as a skeleton crew on
On
a
the
weekend
weekend.
shift, in
Yep.
the evening shift, and in the night shift. So
Mhm.
one of the nurses asked to go to that shift because she needed to go to school in the daytime, which is totally no problem with me. Okay, but if we have a patient on the table with trauma ongoing, I do not have time to teach you your basic life support because this is something you should know.
That's why it's
So the
called basic.
yeah, very basic. So the nurse did not have knowledge, full understanding of the medication. Okay, she didn't know because she's new and she just requested, and our manager was very nice to accommodate her request to go to the weekend. What I did to the manager is these are the evidences that I did. I spoke to her and I told her to deliver, bicarbonate. She has no idea what a bicarbonate is, right? To
My
to give it, not
goodness.
deliver,
Are you
to
kidding
give
me?
it to the anesthesiologist. So I said, if there are patient safety concern that I need to pull her out of the team, it's not bullying. It's called protecting the patient safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Protect.
Preventing malpractice.
Yeah, so I was being written up for discrimination and harassment. And it was actually raised up to the union, right? So if you are a charge nurse and you are being accused by harassment or discrimination or a bullying at work, but all you're trying to do is really protect the patient, make sure that you have evidences, because not all write up are actually accurate either. It's that because you're, and I'm telling you this because a lot of our new nurses that are going to long-term care facility are actually managing like their colleagues that are CNAs, LPNs, right? So they're doing us like a supervisory job or a charge role already, and they're very new in the United States. And sometimes this younger people or their subordinates are actually older people here in the United States, and they try to manipulate that person who just
Right.
arrived. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm telling you, they're probably telling that they're writing you up to intimidate you, so you will
Mm-hmm.
leave, right? so
Yep. So some
so
of them are very territorial.
Yeah.
yes, so yes, correct, Paul. You know, it's a territorial there. So I recommend if you are in this position of, you know, the charge role, but all you're trying to do is protect that patient. That's why you mentioned something to that colleague, and what you think you're doing is according to the policy and procedure of the hospital. Then they cannot accuse you of discrimination because you're just following the protocol of the facility. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's one thing, and then the other one was I was a charge nurse too, and I told one of the nurses who stayed over time. I said, we have a next patient to do. Can you start setting up this room? And I was told, you go set it up. I've been here since this morning. This is my 16th hour. And I'm like, but you volunteered to do overtime, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, yeah, but
Exactly.
I've been here since 7 a.m. You should go set it up. And I'm like, where is that person? I've been looking for that person because we have a next surgery to come, and it's been almost more than, we have a turnover 30 minutes to 1 hour.
Right.
Uh, 1 hour, she's missing in action. So you know what I did? I paged her overhead, the hospital.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all I heard from all the way to the hallway, right? Was a big curse on my name, you effing B, why on earth did you page him in your hospital, right?
Bleep,
So
bleep, bleep.
I got written up, but then she didn't realize I actually called the nursing office already. First, I called the nursing office. I said, "I wonder if you have received any call from this nurse because I could not find her, and maybe something happened to her because I tried to overhead page in the unit, and she's not responding, and we have a patient to come." And I called the nursing office. There was no note that she left or she left early, but she was just hiding. This happens. You guys know, right?
Yeah. Well, you
Some of the
can't leave the
people,
floor
guys.
until you know that the charge nurse is aware, because you
Yes.
have to be timed out too. It's stealing time from the company as well.
Yeah. So if you feel like so anyway, I paged her overhead because I couldn't find her, and I got written up because of using that paging system to find her. And I said I exhausted all my means to look for you first. I asked the other team members to look for you. I asked the management nursing office to look for you, and they cannot find you, so then we have to overhead page. So then, again, some people are just trying to harass you because they feel like you're minority, and they can just go over on in being in subordination. But again, the rule there is not your job to fix people. Call the management. And also, if you're in this situation, I always tell people, know which battles to pick,
Right.
because not all battles are worth fighting. Okay? And if
Right.
you choose to silence your mouth, like a lot of immigrant nurses or new nurses, they choose to just not say a thing, even though somebody's abusing them or saying, verbal abuses. Um, you shutting up your mouth or saying nothing is not it's not choosing that you're a weak person. Okay, you choosing to have peace, it's a strong sign that you're a strong person of values, because
Mm-hmm.
not all fights are worth it. So somebody will
Right.
see something one time, I just let it pass by. Okay, but if it's repetitive, yes, I will have to stop it. But if it's a one time, sometimes it's not even worth it to fight it.
Right.
Okay, unless it's a deep defamation against my character, or it will destroy my reputation. So
Mm-hmm.
again, use this in your whole life. Not all battles are worth fighting for.
Right.
Okay. Thank you everyone for
So
this
many
time.
pearls
I
today.
know, yeah.
We're over time again.
I know, but yeah, one more minute, all right? Before the
Yes,
2 hour
but
mark. So thank you
th-
everyone.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anna and Kay, so much pearls today. And I hope everyone who's watching, please share this to your friends. We've shared our experiences and facts from data that supports our content today that says workplace violence has actually existed. If it happened to us,
Mhm.
if it happened to many nurses in our audience right now, it will happen to you as well. So manage your
Mhm.
expectations, set limits, know when to report, how to report, what to report, and professional boundaries, and of course, let it not be about you. And what Kay said is to, I'm sorry, Kay, what was the last thing you said
I
again?
said learn to choose your battles.
Choose your battles. Very good. Yeah.
Yes, food for battle. Yep.
Yeah, choosing peace is not a
You know,
sign of
I'm
weakness.
already tired working 12 hours. I'm not gonna argue. I'm running out of English, so I'm just gonna go home. So,
Yeah, I'm
choose
like,
my
I don't
battle.
have the energy for it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not in the mood to argue. If you don't want
Mhm.
to do your job, that's totally fine with me. I'm just gonna put a note. I'm gonna let the supervisor know. That's it. You want to start
I think
screaming at me? I'm like, sorry, not me.
for Paul, you working in the ER, you're exposed to patient
Yeah.
management, go or me and Clay
Oh,
working in the OR.
yeah.
I think in patient, our exposure is like minimal because we're gonna hi, hello, and we're falling asleep, right?
And
But meanwhile,
usually surgical patients are more compliant because they know that they're gonna go to
yeah,
surgery, so they're anxious. Very rarely they're aggressive. Probably more with coworkers with you guys
yeah,
and that side.
coworker,
In the ER, it's
job
more like
tech, nursing aid,
public. Yeah.
surgeon, CRNA, anesthesiologist. Those are the things that we have to handle, and sometimes we forget like, hey, we are in this team together. I'm not just your nurse. I'm not just here to run around for you. We have to work together. So, thank you so much for those wisdom, especially the keys on your pocket for Paul. I'm gonna tell Ryan about that. Oh,
The what?
yeah, because he always leave his keys in the car,
Oh,
and we
the
always
keys.
have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
hard
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah. I have
Oh,
it. But
What
now we're
keys? What
driving
keys you have?
Tesla.
You don't have keys, Paul. Your
Okay,
car is
right?
yours.
What are keys?
What keys are you talking
yeah,
about? You liar.
I don't have a key. My phone is Mikey K as well. We both drive
yeah.
Tesla.
I don't
Maybe
have
I'll
Tesla.
tell Ryan
Just
that
kidding.
too. I learned a lot today, and I thought I know, but but those experiences of yours, setting boundaries. Thank you so much for all and traveling nurse A. I hope everyone learned. I know if you missed the show, you can always go back. Check the corners on YouTube or Facebook. It's all in there. You can rewind, repeat with your friends,
Fast forward.
and. Next week, February 11th, before Valentine's Day, you gotta learn how to budget. It's all about the money, money, money.
Yeah.
Don't forget, budget for immigrants. A lot of people are asking, how much will I bring before going to the US? Or, how will I budget if I am already in the US, right? And you
Right.
love numbers.
I
And
love
for
math.
Paul, it's on investment. So, this is all you got.
I love math. I made a mistake in my nursing code. It should be math, right? but but thank you. I'm looking forward for our next episode. This is going to be very interesting because not only nurses should know this, but anybody migrating to United States or actually people who doesn't have any guidance and they've been living here in the United States for a long time. So this is for everyone technically.
Mhm. Episode
All right.
19, February 11th, Sunday, 8 a.m. Bagton or immigrants. And
We'll see you
just a
guys.
reminder, don't forget, February
Bye.
18th, legal documentation. We will have a guest, a special guest. February 25, essential skills for immigrants. February is a month of hearts, and we care, we love you, so we have a lot of amazing topics every week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all in play. See
Thank
you
you
next
guys.
week.
See you next week.
Have
Bye
a good
bye.
Bye.
day.